Microsoft Graph enables more features than just reading and writing files. So in this demo, you're going to learn how to get a list of files that are trending around a user and how to get recently modified or access files by the current user. Now this demo does assume that I've already created the Azure AD app and console application that I showed you in previous demos from this module. I'm going to edit these files to add this additional capability that I just described. So the first step is going to be to update the Azure AD application. So I'm going to jump over to back to my Azure AD application. I'm going to add a new permission, and the new permission that we're going to add is a delegate permission, and I'm going to choose sites.read all. There we go, sites read all. Now I'll say add the permission. And then again, we'll grant admin consent to simplify the consent process for our demo. Now let's go back to our application. Let's get rid of all this code that we were using to upload a file. And we'll get rid of the first one as well, so we don't need this either. I'm going to add this code that you see here. So this is getting all the trending files around a specific user. So here I'm calling client.me/insights and then trending and submitting the request. And what this is going to do is it's going to walk through and explain all the different files that it finds, passing in the weight, the ID, and the resource ID. The one change we do have to make here is we're going to have to find the part where we're demanding permissions, and I need to make sure that I add the permission for sites.read.all and save my changes. And so with that, let's test it out. I'll say .NET build and then .NET run, which will prompt me to authenticate. So I'll pass in my username. I'll pass in my password as well. And here what we see is a list of files that are trending around the current user. So you can see I've got the type of the file, it's Word, there's the name of the file, the weight, an ID for the file, and the resource. Notice too that these are all listed in descending order based on their relative weight. So if I scroll up to the very beginning, we can see that that weight is actually heavier than the second file that comes up. So these are the files that are trending around the current user. Now in this piece, what we're going to do is update the .NET Console app to display all the files that are recently used and accessed by the current user, by the currently signed in user. Before we did trending, now we're going to do the ones that are actually being used. So give myself a little bit more room here to work with the code. Let's scroll back up to where we're actually making that request, and I'm going to comment out our first request, and instead I'm going to add in this second part where it's going to list all the used files. The main difference here is where you see I'm using the used property on the insights endpoint for Microsoft Graph for the current user. And again, we're just going to write out the results. We have a little bit different information like when it was accessed, modified, etc. On the application. So now let's see how this works. I'll say .NET build, .NET run to go build and run the application. It's going to prompt me to authenticate, so I'll pass in my username, and again we'll pass in the password. And here we can see a list of all the files when they were last accessed. So here's some that weren't accessed for a while. And the modified user as well. And this is not surprising is because this is a developer tenant that has a bunch of sample data that's already been added to it. So there's not many people that are using this tenant, but we can see when these files were last touched and how things are actually working. So in this demo, you saw how to get a list of files that are trending around a user and how to get recently modified and access files by the current user as well using Microsoft Graph. Thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something. Now remember that this video is part of a series of videos on this Microsoft Learning module. This video is also part of a playlist that includes all the videos that are associated with this module so that you can watch them in order. The playlist and all its included videos are associated with a Microsoft Learning module that includes hands-on lab exercises and additional resources. Check the notes for this video and the associated playlist for more information and where to find the Microsoft Learning module.